Good morning, you guys. We're headed to the back corner of the property where we've kind of struggled with some plants. I picked up this Calamagratis grass, and I think that it'll add some really nice height to the back corner of our property over there, where you can see the pomegranate, and we have a cypress back there and a couple dahlias. And then I've got a couple other plants that are some lower growing things to kind of frame around this grass. And so let's go take a look so I can show you guys kind of the area that we need to really work on. We've got lots of things throughout the property, but this is definitely one of the more neglected areas. So we want to try to take care of this. We've got an event coming up, and I think that adding some much needed height to the back corner will be really important. So we've got this array of plants back here for this one corner. I've got this grass that's going to be kind of the back piece, and it'll add a lot of interest, getting about 5 feet tall. This is Calamagratis Carl Foster's. I love the color of the seed heads here. I think that that'll add some really nice color and interest into the garden, especially up high. In front of that, I have this really beautiful Coreopsis. I love how airy it is, how light it is, and how dainty and delicate the flowers are. This guy will get about 18 inches high and wide, and I think that in front of this grass, they pair together really beautifully. And then in front of that, just for a good pop of color, kind of something unexpected, I picked up 3 of these lamb's tail. This is called Joey, and I had never really seen anything like this, but the bright purple tips on these blooms really caught my eye from across the nursery, so I ran over, grabbed 3 of them, and I think that these guys in front of this, the purple and the yellow, kind of are a crazy contrast, but I think that it'll be a lot of interest over here, kind of draw you back to this corner that right now is not so great, but I think once these plants get in the ground, they'll be a lot better. The Joey's tail gets about 18 inches tall and wide also. So for some ground cover, a couple months ago, started rooting some Creeping Jenny. This is just a little flat that I took, filled up with some soil, and I'm gonna just pop some of these guys down into the ground here. You can see they've got a nice, healthy root system, and they are ready to go into the ground. This is an evergreen for us here in a zone 9, and I think that that'll start taking over the ground to cover some of this mulch up, so that way it helps with lots of weeds and everything. So let's just get started planting, and we'll start with the grass first. So I've got the grass tucked in right about here in between the pomegranate and this cypress here, and I think that that'll add a really lovely addition. I've got my hole dug, and I'm just going to go in, add a little bit of a starter fertilizer to this area. A slow release fertilizer. Grasses don't really need a whole lot, but they will appreciate a little something. You can see the root system on here is quite healthy. It's not root bound at all. Still lots of actual soil left in this container. So we're going to just pop this guy in the ground as it is. We're going to just pop this guy down in here, and then I'm going to backfill with the native soil, not adding bagged soil at all into this. I want this grass to reach out and find nutrients in the native soil versus feeling like it needs to stay inside of a little hole of the healthy soil. So this guy's in the ground now, and then right about here I'm going to go in with this Coreopsis in front of the grass, and I think that those pair really nicely, and this plays lovely off of this cypress that we've got here. So let's just dig that hole out some. You can see a bit of rubbish that we have in the ground here. Tad bit of some starter fertilizer to promote some root growth, to get a healthy plant. This guy's a tad bit more root bound, but I think he'll be totally fine. Very, very healthy plant. Pop that in there and do a bit more backfill here. And get rid of that. That looks lovely. So then right in front of this, I'm gonna probably plop these guys in the front of this bed, about like so. Just like that. And then in between all of these, I'll go in with some of the creeping jenny to kind of cover some of the ground. So move that mulch away. Got one hole dug. I'm gonna just dig all 3 of these holes. Move the mulch away here. Pop that guy there. And then we'll probably go about there with this one. You can see that the ground right here is a little bit dry. Especially in comparison to the rest of this bed. So we're going to check that out when we're done with this video. Perfect. Grab our starter fertilizer. Quick little handful in each of these and pop them down in their holes. Nice and snug. Backfill the mulch. Looks like it was there all along. Repeat that on this guy. One last time. So last and definitely not least is the ground cover, which is a very important part of our garden. It really helps keep a lot of the weeds down. We have ground cover in a few places and it's really started to take off. And although mulch does help, some of the bigger things like pecans and palms, they do get into our soil and they start to sprout up. So we're constantly pulling them out. So some ground cover will really help because these pecans will just land on top and they won't be able to make it down to the soil and take root. So all I'm going to do is in certain areas, move back some of this mulch, pop one of these guys out of their trays. You can see how healthy that is. Set it right there, have it make some good contact with that soil, and mulch right back up to it. And that's as simple as that's going to be for the ground cover. I'm going to repeat that a few more times in this flower bed, just to give some really good coverage. This was such an easy project to do. All I did was take literal pieces of this, broke them off, put it on some soil, kept it wet for about 2 months, and you have some lovely free plants. So that really couldn't have been much easier. And I still have a few more of these creeping jennies left over, which I'll go pop a little bit down the lane. I think that this has really helped this area of the bed, and I can't wait for the next month or two as the summer heat really hits us. These plants will just take off. I just happen to be working in the garden, and I'm walking with this amaranth called Love Lies Bleeding. And it's this wonderful amaranth, these beautiful red stems with bright green foliage and these red, pinkish color seed heads that like cascade down the plant. And I'm walking past this patch right here, and I look down and I notice something. It has just a tinge of red. I'm thinking, that's weird. Must be some Love Lies Bleeding amaranth. So I get a closer look at it, and upon inspecting it, I notice that all of the leaves are the same, and I notice that the stem is the same. This guy is growing in between the grass that was just mowed just a couple days ago. Don't know how it got here, but after comparing leaf shape, color, and stem color, I'm pretty positive that it's an amaranth called Love Lies Bleeding, just like this one is. So it's funny the things that catch your eye in the garden. So because I don't want an 8-foot tall amaranth growing in the middle of the lawn, and I also don't really want anything growing in the middle of the lawn because this one here, she will trample it. So I've got this container here. I'm gonna just pop a little hole just like that in this container. And then I'm going to try and carefully dig this up. There's a little rock here. And if it survives, great. Free plant. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. Pop that guy back in there. Pop that in there. Fill that up a tad bit. It's funny how sad this one that's been growing all on its own looks compared to the ones that I started from seed. So I'm gonna go find a place to plant these guys now. So amaranth, I think I need something tall next to this rose. This is a silver lining rose, and this is its second flush of blooms now. I think tucking it in between this foxglove and this bunny-tailed grass will be exactly what I need right here. So let's get that planted. Super simple. I'm gonna pop all three of these in the ground right back here behind this bunny-tailed grass a bit. I have a little bit of irrigation running right here. Save the tag. And I am gonna pop all three of this. I'm gonna pop all three of these in here, and you can see the roots nice and healthy. Soil is still very loose. Pop those guys just like that. And backfill with the native soil. I'm not using any fertilizer. These guys will take off regardless. Keep our tag. Pop that right behind those, so I know the variety that we got. And eventually, in the next couple of months, these guys will take off like crazy. They'll grow up and above the silver lining rose, reaching 6 to 8 feet tall with these beautiful cascading plumes of seed heads. So that is going to be it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for visiting our garden, and we will see you in the next one.